Why, I'm just cleaning the peanut butter vats with this chicken breast. Oh, I need a new chicken breast. There's too much peanut butter on this first chicken breast I was using. I need a second chicken breast that hasn't been cooked. Ah, yes. Clean. So we're going up for the 4th of July to Fox and Alex's house in Kingston. In our planning of this trip, we almost really shit the bed on travel.
Well, we did. So in my sober community, at the end of the month, we have a celebration of people who had sober anniversaries in that month. And this would be my first one ever. And each person who has an anniversary, they're given their medallion for that year. You collect them all until you die.
You get points.
Yeah, you get points. And that's what it's all about.
Was not prepared for that.
It's literally the opposite of what it's about. It's the whole thing is doing it one day at a time.
It's like Dragon Ball Z or something.
Yeah.
There's medallions to collect.
Yeah.
It's a collect-a-thon game from Rare. It's Banjo-Kazooie.
I have no idea what that is, but
I know. You're accumulating your one medallion.
Yes. Which is amazing and like a huge deal for me, and that's
a lot of work, and we're very proud of you.
Thank you. And my sponsor is going to talk about me. I invited my boss. I invited another one of my bosses because I have a lot of people that I work with clinically, and they're both coming. My best friend's going to be there. Unfortunately,
we're not going to be there because we planned our travel 2 days before.
Yeah. So here's the thing with the travel as well. I was also like,
the price was insane different on the day, remember?
It was. And I also I love traveling with Peter, and I haven't traveled with the kids before. I'll probably have a different kind of love for traveling with the kids. But I'm sure I'll love that too. It's our first family trip. That's lovely. Oh, you poor thing. You had to do that by yourself the first time.
I do. I've never flown with them without
the nice
any
thing,
help.
though, is I can drive you to the airport. Oh.
True. That would make it so much easier.
Because then you don't have to come back to... It might work. It might not. But...
We're getting into planning mode.
Yeah,
we need to not do that.
We need to not do that. It's not time for that. I do really enjoy traveling. I love it. But there's also a part of me that really hates it because my job is so demanding. And I have to not see my patients for however long I'm gone. I have to go off of like assessment clinics that I do. It's just a pain in the ass. It's to call off like it is for any job, but it's a little bit different. And one of my big things was like, oh, well, like I'm going to have to call off on Monday. And Monday is a day where I do a lot of things clinically, not with my own patients, but with somebody else. And so that was like really preventing me from wanting to go. But I just said, you know what? Fuck it. We'll do it anyway. And then when I was getting ready to tell my boss, like, I'm going to be out on that day, she was like, oh, like, I'm going to be out for this week and the week before and like whatever. So I was like, oh, that's awesome. And so like everything was just like working out perfectly.
And then also to travel on that day cost literally half traveling the next day and 1/4 of what it would cost to travel the following day.
Right. So we were just like, fuck yeah. So glad that we did that because we did it before I knew that I was going to be off that day. So I'm just like, wow. In my heart of hearts, I am uncomfortable because things are working out. And I was right. There was something wrong with it. And it was that we scheduled that on the first time in my life, which ideally, I know it's one day at a time, blah, blah, blah. Hopefully I'm doing this every year for the rest of my life and picking up a medallion for another year of sobriety. This is my first one ever. And we plan for me to be in fucking New York, where we don't live. We live in one of the other 49 states and our 2 territories. And we fucked that up.
So we were going to rearrange the travel. You were going to fly into Albany. And that was going to cause you to land at 11:30 at night, which is several hours after an event we had all planned.
Yes. critical event.
Yeah, it's one that we really want to be at.
Yeah.
So we're like, fuck, you're going to miss it.
Yeah, and I scheduled that flight.
Yes, you did. Because it was like 1 in the morning.
Yeah, it was 1 in the morning because we decided, we were like, oh, shit. And then we figured out when the event was going to be, what time that was going to be.
That seemed like the only way you were going to come.
Yeah. And then Fox had the great idea that I fly closer to New York City so that we could make it to the event.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did that. We planned it. I'm flying out of my home city instead of having to drive
2 hours to the bigger airport in the area.
We saved the day, and I'm going to pick up my 1-year medallion.
And not fly out of the dog shit airport.
Mm-hmm.
Because the small airport's so much fucking better.
It's so much better. You walk through.
There's less confusion.
Yeah.
It's an all-around way better process than going to the larger airport where there's 100 million people doing it at once, not just on the end of going through security, but also on the end of operating the security. So there's tons of confusion back and forth, and it just fucking sucks. And I am going to go through that with our kids, and you are going to go through the small airport alone with a smile on your fucking face.
Peter has it. We, just as we were talking about this, realized that Peter's going to be doing that independently.
Yeah. So tighten your buttholes. It's time for Pact. I'm Peter, the P. This is ACD, the ACD, Astronaut Cowboy Doctor is what it stands for. Together we're Pact. That's the podcast you're listening or watching right now. You can support us at patreon.com/pactpod. We have a Discord you can join at discord.pactpod.com. That is a great community. We put up a new episode every week. Thank you so much for tuning in to Pact.
Can we talk about the peanut butter?
Yes. Something that you and I both eat a whole lot of is peanut butter.
Yes.
It's not expensive. It's a good source of protein, and it's fucking delicious. Well, Jif is fucking delicious.
Listen, we're opening this by clarifying that we are choosy moms.
Absolutely.
And have been deeply affected by what has been happening with the peanut butter, which is that Jif Peanut Butter recalled their product on May 21st of this year, 2022, due to a salmonella outbreak related to their product.
Mm-hmm.
Wherein at least 14 cases of salmonella were reported that were related to Jif peanut butter. And I remember this happening because we have 2 jars in our house at all times, one for spreading, one for scooping. And
we do this because we're both weird. We both do this thing where we really like the scooping to be flat. You like it flat in a different way than I like it flat.
It's true,
but it's better than
Peter
it being
likes it like
flat.
Like concrete flat. I like it to have like nice little like peaks and valleys.
But small ones.
But small. And still it has to be scraped off the side properly. Like it's got to be level.
We're both not neurotypical.
And so we have 2 PBs designated in that way. And when I learned about this recall and thought that I was never going to talk about it again, it listed the product numbers when I saw the announcement. I was scrolling through my phone, literally eating out of the jar. I was like, oh, fuck.
Oh, shit. I might be eating salmonella.
Yeah.
Which has not stopped me with cookie dough in the past.
No.
I mean, would it have stopped? Here's a question. Would it have stopped you from eating the peanut butter if the number matched?
If the number matched, it depends on the wording.
Yeah.
If it was all products with these numbers are contaminated, I would stop. If yours is it's within this range, your product might be contaminated. I'd keep going with it.
It hasn't killed me yet.
Yeah. So, anyway, mine was not in the range, and I was like, okay, fine. It was not visible to us that anything was disrupted with the sale of peanut butter.
No, it seemed as if You might see a little bit less of it, but it doesn't disappear.
Right.
We've seen that continuously with cereals, with other things. And especially during the pandemic, we've had shortages of items, not necessarily related to recalls, but we're used to these types of things by now.
Yeah. Anyway, a week or two later, they're out of the stores.
There's no peanut butter in the place we normally shop. And we're like, all right, well, they're out of it here. We'll go to a different one. None there.
None there.
All right. Okay. Maybe it's just this grocery store chain.
No, not at the gas stations, not at Walmart, not at regional grocery store, none of that.
You couldn't go anywhere and find Jif, and you still can't.
Yeah, you still...
This has been the condition from that point on.
And, oh my God, has it been horrible. And I think this is a good place to start.
So something funny about salmonella. Salmonella bacteria actually happen naturally in peanuts. And I think Jif is relying on that for people to not understand exactly how gross it is that there's salmonella in their peanut butter. Because let's talk about how peanut butter is made for a quick moment before we get into our economic analysis. Peanut butter is made the following way. The peanuts are farmed. They pick the peanuts. They bring the peanuts to the peanut butter factory. They are roasted at between 350 and 600 degrees Fahrenheit, depending on the manufacturer. Salmonella does not live past 160 degrees Fahrenheit. So that step ends it. They put it in between 350 and 600 degrees for an hour. They roast the peanuts, and then they grind the peanuts into fine powder. That powder is the main ingredient in peanut butter.
What else is in peanut butter?
I don't fucking know.
Oh, yeah, here we go. Roasted peanuts and sugar contains 2% of or less of molasses, fully hydrogenated vegetable oils, mono and diglycerides, and salt. Could salmonella be in any of those things?
I don't know.
But it wouldn't be, because then those things would be recalled.
You didn't want to say the types of beans that are in it?
Did you see what they were?
Yeah, why?
I don't want to say it.
One of the things...
Or you're probably not pronouncing it right. I just didn't want to say it.
One of the ingredients is something called a rapeseed.
Rapeseed.
It's like, you skipping that one? What are you skipping that one for?
It was in parentheses.
Anyway, here's the fun little thing that if you learn about the temperature that salmonella can survive, makes this a horrifying recall. Salmonella would have had to have contaminated the peanut butter after it became peanut butter. So salmonella is a bacteria that develops in the intestines of various animals, reptiles more so, but in chicken, in various ones that you have to cook because they're from a body of that thing.
Mm-hmm.
So either an animal fell into the peanut butter vats or shit into the peanut butter vats.
That, or someone made the honest mistake of wiping down the conveyors with chicken breasts.
We've all been there. Why, I'm just cleaning the peanut butter vats with this chicken breast. Oh, I need a new chicken breast. There's too much peanut butter on this first chicken breast I was using. I need a second chicken breast that hasn't been cooked. Ah, yes. Clean.
We've all been there.
The sliminess is how you know it's clean.
Okay, common salmonella is usually water-carrying animal feces getting into the food product.
Basically, a lizard diarrheaed into the peanut butter vats.
Diarrhea.
Yeah, the diarrhea came back to bite us in the ass. So there's shit in the peanut butter.
There's shit in the peanut butter, and so they recalled a great deal of their product.
because they do not want people walking past the peanut butter aisle and avoiding the Jif because they're like, is there shit in it? Peter Pan.
You know that's the last choice. You would not go to Peter Pan.
No, everybody's really hungry for a dollop of it, apparently.
And it's waistline friendly and creamy and whipped.
So NYU gave us a preview of what may happen with peanuts, however, a couple of months before this happened.
Yeah, this seems like it might be funded by Big Shitty Peanut Butter because it starts out saying, hungry for a dollop of Peter Pan's waistline-friendly, creamy whipped peanut butter? Like anybody's preference for peanut butter is Peter Pan.
I know.
My God.
Who funds NYU? Does Peter Pan peanut butter fund NYU?
What the fuck is that? No one has ever been hungry for that.
No. It's Jif. Like, you can't look at any list anywhere that doesn't put Jif at the top. Jif is also not a premium peanut butter. It is an inexpensive, widely available peanut butter that everyone likes over every other peanut butter.
I will take some of Peter's creamy, thick peanut butter also. Then don't leave me. I'm grabbing Peter's.
Yeah. You can't tell because of the table. It's much bigger than our other table. What the fuck is that?
What the fuck? Shut the fuck up.
NYU.
So this was before the product recall. It was in January of this year. And they're talking about how COVID has highlighted peanut butter as a product that encapsulates the anarchy of production really well as a flaw of capitalism. Wherein peanut butter demand has increased quite a bit as a cheap, non-perishable, high in protein, accessible,
plentiful
food product. And the production and supply of peanut butter being kind of bottlenecked for several reasons. I'll talk about the farm first. So on peanut butter farms in the peanut butter belt, which is comprised of 11 states in the U.S.
Which 11? We'll never know.
Yeah.
Because they don't say.
Yeah. In 2021, they had a huge boon of their crops.
Yeah. They produced more peanuts than they had in prior years.
They had a 1% increase. It was one of the best yields in a decade. But on those farms, they don't have an adequate amount of storage. They don't have storage warehouses that they can use to store peanuts once they've been harvested.
So a lot of them were being left in the ground, which means they're wasted, potentially, because they could rot in the ground.
Right. They're left in the ground and they rot because they can't be harvested and stored in warehouses. Part of which is because these warehouses can't be built because, and this leads into the other main problem, the overall supply chain disruption that our good man, Peter Goodman.
Yeah.
Goodman.
We love referencing Peter Goodman.
We love Peter Goodman.
He's the only NY Times lib that has any clue what's going on in the world.
Yeah. So,
and even so, he comes to the wrong conclusions, but still.
So there's a pause on construction of these storage facilities. There's not enough steel. There's not enough wood, which was talked about specifically by Peter Goodman. Those basic supply chain disruptions that are happening, if you remember, because of the shortage of containers and being able to ship products from export-driven countries, whereas COVID caused those containers to go out everywhere or go into everywhere, and they're not being returned back from these non-exported countries like in Latin America and in Africa.
At the start of COVID, there was a massive surge in need for PPE, personal protective equipment, the face masks. there's a huge surge in demand for that. And that circulated storage containers at an incredible rate. And they got concentrated in places that don't typically export after import. So they would get a ton of storage containers with PPE in them. And because they don't send out a lot of product, they just sit at the harbor at one of these countries. And therefore, that would create a log jam at our more busy harbors, like the port of...
the big Georgia one in Savannah?
Yeah, the Savannah, Georgia one, the port of Los Angeles. There's these big log jams because there's not enough storage containers to put product in and ship it out. And the cycle's disrupted. And this was basically the start of the whole supply chain problem that we're still living through.
Right. And that impacts the ability to make warehouses that can store peanuts when you have a particularly large yield. So that's part of it. Loosen your buttholes. It's time for a break.
Oh, I love that. Loosen your buttholes. It's time for a break.
Yeah.
You really nailed it.
Thank you. It just fell out of me.
You nailed that too. That was a good joke.
I know. Do you wear clothes?
No. I mean, yes.
Then we have a podcast for you where we sell clothes.
Clothes that you can wear and not get arrested, because you will get arrested if you don't. And we don't just mean if you don't wear clothes, but if you don't wear our clothes, you'll get arrested.
Well, no, because we're specifically
We're
anti-police in our clothing.
No, the police love it. They're just like, you guys,
You can...
we do nothing. That's true. I'm going to go to the Dunkin' Donuts. You guys. That's how the police react to it. I promise.
Treat us.
Yeah, cops love constructive criticism in shirt form. They're like, you're right. We should do something.
These are examples of some of the shirts that we sell.
These are actually both the ones that were spearheaded by the children.
Yes. This, our 4-year-old.
Yeah. Who actually...
This, our 8-year-old. These come in different colors. It says, "Police do nothing," inspired by our very own 4-year-old who said that. When we asked her what police do, she said, he do nothing.
These shirts go into helping us maintain the podcast, expand. And also they look great and they're funny as shit. Like there's other ones like the 3 arrows but acceptable, which is a nice little subversion of the anti-communist 3 arrows symbol. Should we also retighten your buttholes? We're going back to packed.
This is so butthole focused.
I mean, we're selling shirts that say poopus on them.
I don't know if it will play in Middle America.
And now back to packed.
Another supply chain disruption has to do with packaging, like propylene and resin, which is used for the jars, used for the lids. And so that's a whole other thing. So we have this salmonella outbreak that you would think, okay, those get recalled and then you replace the product.
That batch gets recalled and that's that.
Right. But because of these things happening in the supply chain, that we're not able to replace that product.
I mean, it happened at just the wrong time, too.
Right.
April is when they plant peanuts in the U.S., and October is when they harvest them.
And so you have this situation that is characteristic to anarchy of production that happens in capitalism, increasingly so as it further consolidates into monopoly capitalism and imperialism. You have, for certain things, and this is as Engels put it, you have overproduction of certain things that are underconsumed because capitalism, in the context of anarchy of production, does not meet demand.
It doesn't supply what is demanded.
The reason for that being and why anarchy of production happens is because no matter how much planning took place or takes place, like in the 1930s, which is what Dutt talks about, where you have these large imperial capitalist countries meeting together to try to do basically a planned economy by capitalists.
Well, and the reason for that was because it was working so well in the Soviet Union.
Right.
They decided, we got to figure out a way to do this, but retain our ownership and profits.
Right. So they tried to do that, but because it's not based on consumer or proletariat need or demand, but rather on maintaining the mode of profits and ownership, you can't predict what's going to be needed.
Like, you can't create a predictable system where the ultimate goal is to make as much money as possible, or simply to maintain ownership of the means of production. Like, you produce things that create dependencies.
You nurture dependence.
Yes, you nurture dependence.
It's true, though. Even if not maximizing profit, which of course that is what the goal is, but at the very core, it's maintaining those capitalist relations of power, wherein the proletariat and consumers are
not the ones in control.
Do not own the means of production.
In a simple explanation of that, with peanut butter, you can predict you need X amount of peanut butter. You can predict when you're going to need it. You can even, to some extent, plan for something like this type of problem. But that's not the only thing that's going on. When we're viewing the world through the lens of dialectical materialism, we have to consider the fact that everything is connected and in flux. To quote Engels, we can't view things as separate or in stasis or in death. We have to view them as they are in life, as part of a large connected ecosystem where everything has an effect on everything. So in the planned economy, we are not talking about big fluctuations in whether lumber is profitable affecting our ability to create warehouses, because we know where we're going to need lumber. The lumber market doesn't affect our warehousing. And if we have extra peanuts, we can talk about bringing more lumber in for that, because we're not building on a basis of where specifically the lumber is worth the most.
Right.
Instead, we're building on a basis of where do we need lumber? Now, in the world in which the anarchy of production exists, to produce in large quantity means you need to market a demand into existence. You don't operate on a supply and demand mechanic because you're attempting to make the most money possible, meaning
you're fabricating demand.
Yes, you have to, because if you're going to choose to create a large quantity of something and commit all of the resources, all of the machinery, all of the labor to that thing, you need to know that it's going to make money.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the fun part about that. If we were operating in a planned economy, if our point was to put resources where resources are needed, not where they'll make us the most money or they'll create the right type of scarcity that a revolution won't happen.
And not just needed, but wanted also.
True.
I don't want to, I know you're not intending to do this, or I wasn't intending to do this, but when we talk about based on need, it makes it sound like communism is this necessarily ascetic system of living where you have nothing and you just have your needs met, and that's why the economy is efficient. No, it's just communism is in the planned economy mode is the only way that actually could genuinely operate on a supply and demand basis.
Well, yeah, because you're operating on where these resources traditionally need to be. Now, does that mean that it's going to forever be that way? No. Again, if you're a dialectical materialist, that doesn't create a new situation where it's all in stasis. Things will change, and there will be a degree of unpredictability in a planned economy as well.
Right.
They would deal with the exact same problems here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, we could very easily have some lizards drop into the vats, or we could clean the vats with uncooked chicken breasts. That could happen. And the same recall could happen in communism.
Those mistakes could still be made.
Yes, that can happen in a planned economy. But the difference is, in the anarchy of production, you have every single market affecting every single other market. So every choice that's being made that puts profit or the system of class ownership at its core it moves things around in a different way. Let's say you're on a seesaw and you're distributing weight.
Mm-hmm.
You're not working from how do we balance these weights? What do I add pebbles here? No. Do I add pebbles here? No. You're not trying to balance it. You're trying to get as many rocks in one place as possible at any given time. And because the rest of the system is connected, it can throw everything out of balance.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I think that's a good analogy. And then when you put this into the context of the stage of capitalism that we're in right now,
Mm-hmm.
where it's the level of countries collaborating with monopoly industrial capital and bank capital through this finance capitalist system,
Mm-hmm.
that when things like this in the supply chain happen in one given product or industry or whatever, it shows the cracks
Mm-hmm.
of capitalism decaying in this system where things are getting thrown off balance. The whole thing is thrown off balance with that part.
And it assists in the consolidation of the monopoly capitalists. All of these small, like if you remember Peter Goodman talking about how the large companies, the winners, are set up to win.
Yeah, and he was just like, well,
That's it.
That's all there is to it.
But the winners are set up to win. So the small companies, everybody who's not set up to take advantage of any kind of market fluctuation, they lose. And they go down, they flounder, and they're either bought up by the big guys and their brand name is used to appear as though they're somehow independent of the horrible, evil capitalism thing that's going on. Or they just shut them down, or they shut down on their own because they can't compete. This is the boom and bust cycle.
Yeah.
And it's inherent in capitalism. It will continue to happen. And there will always be these situations in which the market expands to a point where everybody is attempting to expand the productive forces and move further, that they will produce more product than there will be consumed.
Mm-hmm.
It's that simple. It will always happen as long as the incentive is to expand the market.
Yes. And it's, as the analogy that I like to say, it's why we didn't have toilet paper during COVID, but warehouses full of fidget spinners.
Exactly.
Anarchy of Production. Here it is. We need peanut butter right now.
So the one thing that should be abundantly clear to all of you is that we need our fucking peanut butter.
Yeah.
Come on. Jiff. Get your shit together. That's all for today. Thanks again for watching. This is Pact. I'm Peter. This is Miss Astronaut Cowboy Doctor. To help us out, click like, follow, subscribe, whatever. Leave us 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts and Audible. To support us, become a patron at patreon.com/PeterCoffin. Thanks so much, guys. We'll see you later.